due to America's richest companies plagiarizing all my work. And hacking my Facebook account just because it's a fake identity slash fake name slash to offset my real name from being found. Well, actually, just to really avoid, just until I go to court and whatnot, to avoid any of these pedophiles that have been roaming around claiming to be me. So, oh, they hacked my Facebook account, which had a bunch of posts pertaining to how Masquerade plagiarized my camera filters, which in reality resulted in the U.S. losing trillions of dollars worth of technology that most of the other world didn't really have nor knew was usable or being used for these types of military self-defense secrets, since they all use different algorithms or different setups in order to actually have their top-notch self-defense dynamics set up. So oh yeah, and they also prior to this had delayed my stream by 10 to 15 seconds, occasionally 13 seconds, and then at one point it got down to like 8 seconds, but when it was delayed by like 8 seconds, it was an overall stream delay of 30 seconds. So it was just kind of heinous, and I technically don't like it. But now as a result, I'm repeating the broadcast message a minute after the stream starts, around a minute basically, like minute 30 sometimes, in order to make sure the broadcast message is on stream, regardless of what pedophiles are roaming around. Welcome back to the show. In my opinion, when they tell you not to blink, then eventually they end up telling you, oh well, you get a lot of good tricks and stuff out of not blinking. But that's a lie. That's if you don't blink for the rest of your life. And even off of the initial first time that they tell you don't blink. Otherwise it's like a contest. They have like 1 million plus people doing the same thing at the exact same time that you do it. And at that point, if you're the person that doesn't blink, if you're the person that ends up getting lucky enough to not blink at that point, which isn't really as likely because it's just a bunch of pedophile groups just forcing their say on people, you're basically like giving gifts and whatnot. It's like if you watch Dragon Ball Z, they even detail it out in these based off of like real societies. But there's one point on Dragon Ball Z where Goku is like barely waking up after being, I don't know if it was after Frieza or Cell, prior to Cell, I think. But yeah, I think it's prior to him getting into like the hyperbolic time chambers or right after. But he states he's like talking in his head, and he's like, every time he blinks, it's 5 years go by. 5 years go by with every blink that they blink, because there are criminal societies that went out and about raping my females and sought rest and then just like violated people's rights. So that's one of the only ways that they were punished, by not being able to maintain time in any other way. They wanted to claim to be someone like me, but they weren't able to uphold the rights and statuses and whatnot, so they ended up losing like 90% of their societies, 90% of the people that they went around raping and whatnot, and they would just go around blaming people like Vegeta, which would basically be like the Jesus Christ of their society, the crown of thorns, as they consider it, the prince's crown, for going around and claiming to be able to protect all of society while not really being able to protect all of society. They end up losing most of their hair. So I mean, it's kind of what happens. I was going to point out in detail something else, but I totally spazzed out as to what it was. Um, but legitimately, with Vegeta's bloodline, they were just betrayed because they were actually protecting all these people, while Goku's bloodline went around violating and polluting everyone's people. That's the reason that Vegeta gets honored by the show, kind of by getting married into Bulma's bloodline, which basically had like the last of Capsule Corp, which is supposedly like my atom type technology and teleportation and whatnot, like compression and decompression type technology and the speeds that I uphold and whatnot. Got 2 silver for surviving 30 minutes. Sorry, just had to point that out. But another part of this like hyperbolic time chamber type setup is what I was basically gonna latch onto, but I completely like spaced out. Supposedly, what's his name? Oh, Frieza. Frieza is technically Bill Gates and company. That's just the best way I could put it. That's how they portrayed him in that. I was trying to think of what other anime it like launched me into, or made me think of. But that's why Vegeta also was able to gain the Super Saiyan God form, due to the fact that he didn't listen to the 6 sad lies and stipulations of the only way of unlocking this higher power, which is a lie. That's how he was able to attain this higher stage of enlightenment. Because they chose not to lie to the people and whatnot. That's why 90% of the story revolves around him and his bloodline still being able to maintain their body parts and limbs, while Goku's bloodline still goes around committing nothing but heinous crimes against the people, and heinous as it gets. And they try to lie about it by like sugarcoating it by season after season, but that's why Gohan lost his arm in the alternate dimension that Trunks was from, and Trunks survived, wielding a sword and whatnot, which is one of my favorite weapons. Supposedly it's like another way that they latched onto this when I was designing all of my stuff pertaining to Infinity Comics that I wanted to release as my business portfolio, like all my real life technology and everything in a patented business portfolio, resulted in all this work being thieved from my house by the U.S. government, as it's now being pointed out. And they eventually launched it into games such as Warframe, the lesser extent of some of this stuff, and these are supposedly some of the bloodlines that also took some of this technology. Hence the reason like their main character throughout the years gets different powers, gets restricted, gets new powers, gets restricted, but he had but that's also a lie. So that's just how they tap into like my past life, all the pain and damage that I endured, all the pain and everything that caused me to be born in this life, supposedly. With that though, this is like the techniques that I basically learned off of the show Rurouni Kenshin. Not really the show, but as it's not through the show, but that I learned from the people in the show, I guess. When I went through like heavy setups, I guess these are the people that were locking into this set of my powers and whatnot, but it was basically the transfer of physics through a blade. And basically the way that they try to show it in Warframe, it's a lesser extent because they have smaller spots, but I mean this is this is how these companies try to restrict people. Kind of like I just said, the mistake of saying that I learned it through the show, but this is kind of how I got it back into the concepts of reality and whatnot. But it was just going through the speeds. I was basically trying to learn how to basically transcend space and time at that point. But because I'd been doing quantum mechanics, quantum physics, gravitational lensing, and whatnot, and And at that point, I was also heavy into physics engines, and basically virtual plug-and-play systems with electricity. And then I kind of got into the whole not concept, but the reality of being able to transfer physical motion, such as a blade slicing through something, but also being able to see how physics around me is shifted whenever I actually have a blade in my hand and I swing with it. It's like being able to encapsulate all this physical energy and not just causing like a spiral effect, kind of like Guile's sonic boom that he does, but basically the same thing. It's encapsulating like that physics energy and then slicing through objects trillions of miles away, just because you're able to incorporate one location to another and able to transfer that motion from one location to another. So it's also how the concept of not the concept, but the overall concept of being able to transfer minds from one body to another, as they depict in the short movie From the Future with Love. That's supposedly after everyone broke away from me recently, as I was working on kinetic energy suits, and this is how they privatized the police force, because most of these companies, well, a lot of these people were being betrayed, and a lot of these companies weren't willing to protect most of them. So it's kind of what ends up happening, and it's like the government finally chooses to disestablish like all these state courts and all these state local areas, and they just consider them nothing but companies. They're not allowed to be affiliated to the country anymore, due to the fact that a lot of these people were betrayed, and that's kind of what happens. But oh, okay. So the whole transfer of motion, bodies and whatnot. Then they got into the whole or the whole show of One Punch Man. That's when I was also just like heavily set in my head trying to retrieve everything. It's like a year to a few months, actually like a year prior to this, where I was just like full-fledged in my dream states, just like knocking every person out. Because at first I just went off of chin checking, because in real life I don't like lollygag, as it's considered, or I don't delay anything. Sorry, it's not really lollygagging. I'm trying to think of what it's considered. Lolly something, whatever. I don't delay. I don't beat around the bush. I don't trying to think of what a better term is, but I've gotten stuck with so many terms recently that I've heard that it just sucks. I don't wait, basically, or I don't sidetrack myself. So I shoot for the main punchline, and I would basically chin check every person that was basically irritating me or pissing me off or not getting to the point, and I'd basically chin check most of these people so hard that eventually they started transitioning to where it was they would like claim that it was like something. They would just try to cause a bunch of damage, and I knocked most of them out. That they would transition, like switching bodies from me or through me or whatnot. That's kind of how Saitama gets so many different faces and so many different facial structures. And they tell him the best way to control this, or to not so much control this, but to avoid not losing your identity, but not being considered yourself, which you're not really One Punch Man, but the person that you're supposed to be trying to protect, is by basically shaving your head. But then I was like, that's also how you're technically gonna lose your hair anyways, off of like the stuff that you have to go through, because you're disestablishing yourself from society in order to be part of society. So I mean, that's how he goes through his training ritual, and that's why they keep it all like private as to how his whole training ritual happens. But they just like give like a quick synopsis, like a quick like short story type setup, but it's kind of funny. Um, but none of them actually did their job, because I was basically already lost. I was already gone. Not really lost, I was just gone. I was already gone to the point where most of these hordes that betrayed me, I was just basically trying to disestablish what or how they betrayed me, and basically was trying to save the people that were being betrayed, or at least prevent them from losing everything. So it was just kind of like I was trying to teach people. I was trying to teach these people basically because they would always ask, "Well, what made you so powerful?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm not really, or I mean, like so high up there." I'm like, I'm just to myself. I'm heavy, high, popular just because I'm me. But I mean, that's because I saw like the greatest of everything. I might have never gotten the popularity that I wanted, but I wanted like the highest of the highest of the highest in anything and everything I did. So it was like all lucid dream states, astral projections, subliminals, stuff of that nature. Just because I kind of was 100% business oriented to where I was trying to get my business launched and generate popularity um, that way. So I mean, I was kind of stuck that way. So I mean, I technically was stuck. Sorry, I was not really stuck because I was kind of just I was sorry. I was trying to generate the popularity that way since I had already chosen to pursue this path. Um, so as a result, I got like way too many blockages, plagiarized day in and day out. Not one single thing I do ever makes it out of this network, unfortunately. So it's just frustrating, to say the least. But I was thinking of doing like a short video, like of just doing clips and pieces of different anime pertaining to my life that like explain different real life phenomena that happen. The governments just won't reveal half this stuff, but I can also provide solidified scientific proofs and solidified science as to how this stuff happens. I was going to start off with a Cowboy Bebop um, clip, which was pertaining to Faye Valentine in Cowboy Bebop. She goes through a stage where she talks to a person from her past, and the person basically tells her what happened because she was wondering where she came from, how she became what she became. Like she could only remember like glimpses and pieces of her past. And this chick is like 60 to like, and the other chick is like 60 to 80 years old. And Faye Valentine is basically the same age, but she only looks like she's in her like 30s, 20s to 30s. And the chick tells her that she died in a space shuttle crash when she was like in her teens or something. And that's the last time that they heard from her, and they had revived her and whatnot because of the technology that was readily available for her, and she was supposed to be like a clone or whatnot of her body, and that's how she wasn't aging as much, but that's how many years went by. It was like 30 to 40 years or something that went by while her other whore friend was basically roaming around and whatnot. Their acquaintance, sorry, schoolmate acquaintance, but either way, that's kind of what the reason that Faye had the bounty hunter life that she had. So I mean, it was kind of cool, but that stuff really does happen. Whether you think it or not, I'm actually like in a biodome right now. It was kind of funny. I didn't realize it up until a few years ago. I woke up and I was just laying down on the ground on my carpet, like off my bed. I had just gone through like a rage out, or I mean, I just had like a panic attack, and I actually no, I didn't go through a rage out. I don't even know what the hell it was. I had just woken up, laid down on the ground, and I'm looking out my window, looking straight up, and um, I get this notion to like look out my window as I'm laying down. Sorry, I get this as I'm like laying down on the carpet on my ground. I look out the window and I see this like grid, almost like you see in what's that game in Borderlands 2. Basically, like a whole grid over my city. That's like at least like a 50-mile type um, distance and whatnot. And I was just like, what? So I'm in a force field type biodome. Is what I realized after that point. And I think it's due to all the technology and everything else that I designed and developed and brought to this country. Um, because at that time it was basically when I was getting into electromagnetics and into force fields and unlocking how UFOs basically have their force fields, but they're not really just force fields. They were 100% force fields to avoid everything. So I can't really say nothing else pertaining to it. But I mean, it was just kind of crazy, shocking, mind blowing. But it's like the worst from these pedophile societies. But this is what they did after they wouldn't pay me for anything and violated my rights and whatnot. Got me stuck. They broke into my house, thieved my notebook with all my recent work. They even thieved a leather-bound ledger that I had that I had purchased a few years after that, or like a year after that, in order to continue. I was gonna. Well, actually, I had purchased at the same, like a few weeks after I had purchased the other one. Um, but I had purchased this one because I was going to go on a camping trip. So I figured, you know what, I might have to have another one or something smaller, like a journal. Maybe it'll be easier for me to get get like good coverage into my own mind by like the previous minds, such as Galileo and whatnot, that deduced it's easier to for certain stuff to happen. No, actually, Galileo didn't do this one. Actually, and I don't think it was Galileo either in this situation, but they had doing their maps for Christopher Columbus or whatever that era is, but I forgot. But it was all based off the concept of great minds think alike, so therefore we're all one IQ society, making it easier for your brain to expand, so to speak. And I had been doing a lot of neurostem work back then also, which was clearing up like basic placebo type concepts and whatnot, so opening up neural pathways in order to allow my brain to like get less strain in order for me to operate more fluidly. But this was also due to my kinetic energy suit and the fact that I realized that if I incorporate a little bit of electricity at the right points through my wrist and whatnot, then eventually my motions become faster, quicker, more concise and whatnot. So that's where my neurostem work basically stemmed to, and technically I think that's why they stole that ledger, that leather-bound notebook. I'm pretty sure that's why they took that leather-bound notebook, but it was only because that was where I was keeping all like the mathematical equations that I was going to start like expanding on, or at least like using as my base algorithms. But base algorithms, I just have to find the quickest algorithm and then basically set up a list of oh wait, never mind. If I release this is like me not getting paid, so I mean it's kind of bad. But I mean I already set up my disclaimer I think a few months back, but I don't know if that episode's still there for me to set it up to where you have to pay me technically, or I hope you guys pay me from anything that you make. Or if it doesn't happen, I hope to eventually be able to take you to court, but no courts really exist that would abide by my rights because they violate my rights so often. But basically at the time I was just looking for the fastest algorithms or the best algorithms to use pertaining to like computer sciences and whatnot. But I use this as my captain's log also, unfortunately, so that's how I kind of got stuck into that whole thought process. I wasn't really going to use it as a journal or like a video in, but I kind of got stuck doing as such at one point accidentally, and I can see why I got stuck. It was during a major break-in a few years ago. Actually, not even a few years ago, like a few months ago. It was like a major break-in into like my basic designs and whatnot, and it resulted in hold up. It resulted in a slew of other issues, like a bunch of pedophiles that had been working for Sony at the time basically had been plagiarizing my work also, and they would try to get like free work off of me and whatnot, but they eventually got demoted and they hired out a bunch of other people around them. I mean, instead of them technically, not really around them, but eventually I'll eventually end up executing this pedophile and whatever other pedophiles roam around in the city. regardless of whatever attempts at law enforcement that they are. So we'll see what happens. And it's a slew of pedophiles that have like been part of like my bloodline supposedly for the past few years that I never knew of. So I'll see eventually when I take them all out. But either way, I don't think I expanded on the whole fact of what everything happens. Oh, the whole time-based setup that I was talking about with like the whole Dragon Ball Z setup. They also kind of expand on this system through what movie is that? Interstellar. That was when I was dealing with, or when I was coming up with my concepts for, or not concepts, my solidified proofs, scientific proofs on black holes and whatnot, like how to easily traverse space and time and easily pass through a black hole and not have to deal with any of the physical pain that might encompass your body, that might eventually result in your body being shredded to pieces and whatnot, or being shredded to pieces. But they also kind of they try to explain like how time works on certain planets. If you just dive into the planet, you're not likely to hit the same time frame that these people are roaming around in. So sometimes you have to go at a certain speed in order to pass through every checkpoint and breakpoint without going faster or slower than the people that are on that planet, because they're bound by like the terms of like physics on that planet. And they go like head forward into it because they knew that their previous scientists had been there going in and dropped in at that speed, but they don't shed light to this. But that's technically how the guy ended up dying too, for going too fast slash slow in comparison to other people or something of that nature. It was kind of cool. Shitty movie though. I never wanted to watch it after they basically broke into all my stuff, into all my scientific proofs, and just wasted my time. It's the reason that the black holes that they deal with are just like an overall like atom star that just pushes them out of the center axis point and center rotational point. It just rotates them around the outside or the perimeter of the black hole, opposed to ever having to deal with the suction. So I'm gonna get this next match started. Didn't mean to like chew off like 30 minutes of anyone's ears, but I was just kind of bored and stuck. It's actually because my stream crashed and I got stuck thinking about one concept after another, and I actually just forgot one thing. Actually, I'm just gonna run it anyways. What is this, duos? Oh, okay, never mind. I thought these pedophiles had hacked my account. I hate when they do this shit. They try to do it in order to like manipulate like what I'm doing or whatnot. But it's funny, all these pedophiles roam around protecting people and they lose their hair also. So that's also another reason why they lose their hair. They're protecting a bunch of pedophiles without knowing, or being used by a bunch of pedophiles without knowing, because they have a bunch of pedophiles roaming around that are lying to them in their faces as to what crimes they committed. And this is how the U.S. started kind of violating people's human rights. And what they would basically tell people is like, well, if you can't explain what human rights I'm violating of yours, you're violating my civil rights by you just incarcerating me for the crimes that I had for the crimes in the past. Like, and that's what the pedophiles would roam around telling people. So I mean, it's just like, what the hell? And then it was also because
Search
there
for
was a bunch of
vehicles.
pedophiles, such as like local sheriffs, that were a bunch of pedophiles roaming around, manipulating people's assets and breaking and entering and raping people. So I mean, they therefore are
Enemies
also
ahead.
criminals, but they would roam around lying about what they were doing. I don't know why I dropped in at Rosshawk. I'll probably go through school.
Form up on me.
Oh, I was looking for a vehicle. I was gonna drop in for a vehicle and then take off, but way too many pedophiles to deal with. So they even had this little pedophile kid in here, and he got kicked out by his mom. His pedophile ass was siding with these pedophiles in the squad. See, they had me in a solo match, or not a solo, in a duo. They had hacked my account, and then they had to hack my account again when I pointed it out, and they put me in a squad match. It's what the pedophiles here in the US do every single time whenever they get caught with a bunch of pedophiles after they raped a bunch of these pedophile whore females. Kinda hence the reason half these whores have like such annoying pedophile voices. They're just roaming around plagiarizing my work in terms of frequencies and whatnot. I hate when I do that. I keep picking up certain attachments just because I'm stuck right now. Most of these pedophile Asians that are from their bloodlines would lie about what's basically happening. So that's another one as to how most of them lose their hair regardless and get hair randomly. They just go around manipulating how something happened and then they lie about it. But you have to have like a whole full-fledged company, and you have to be able to make sure you get through like the subliminals and whatever else these other pedophiles have been roaming around manipulating.
Help!
Regardless of what these pedophiles try to claim. That's why I don't deal with this pedophile character often. I was gonna get rid of him, but all the rest are the same. It's just every single different country and all the pedophiles that they used in order to try to manipulate my assets. Regardless. They're like, oh no, these are like our purest people. No, they're not. These are just the people that they lie with. They even manipulated all the data streams in the US pertaining to gravitational lensing, so I wouldn't even ever recommend looking anything up pertaining to gravitational lensing in the US, nor even going and buying a book or anything of that nature. It's all like complete and utter asinine garbage now. Like beyond asinine garbage. It's like the stupidest shit to ever deal with in your life and in anyone's life. I was gonna go check that room, but I figure I might as well check this first. Nice. I think I'm gonna drop this extended mag. I didn't really want to take this Scar L either, but I don't like the AKM. I think I'm gonna take the AKM or the Scar L as backup, and then just push the P9. Drop the bullet loops, extended mag, stock for the micro Uzi, extended mag. Probably still keep going with the 7.62 in case I have to have it for this like the next series of people, or I mean after I find a Car 98K or SLR, or maybe even an M762, which would be super dope and fresh, like fresh beyond all reason, fresh AF. Was almost an accident and it still wouldn't let me pick it up, so it's kind of cool. I'm gonna just drop half of this stack just to make sure I don't deal with it. Gonna say, I wonder if this vehicle stopped. I remember the stream stay after the pedophiles broke into all my assets again after they had raped me recently. No fucking way. And it's a pedophile, also the worst shit. Probably dropping at a hot spot. Probably gonna go to Sanok. I wanted to run Sanok real quick, so, or not real quick, but recently. So I'm just gonna drop in at Sanok. Since I have just enough points to hopefully have tier protection activated, so these pedophiles aren't getting any of my stuff. Dropping at boot camp. They've had a pedophile in my squad every single time. Pedophile from fucking whatever that six-head pedophile country is. Jamaica. Every single match. Every match. Those are all pedophile stems. Even the, what's it called? Even South Africa and whatnot. All those white Africans are also pedophile bloodlines. So I don't ever like consider any of them anything of worth anymore. Not one of them has chosen to like avoid whatever they're abiding by. So, or I mean to like stop abiding by the stuff that they were abiding by, all the crimes and everything else. So it's like I can't really ever give any of them credit for anything. Oh, what? They drop me in I drop in at boot camp and it's like an empty camp. So heinous. You got two people already scoping out from the southwest area of this camp. Oh, no way. Damn it, I knew that was gonna happen. Hold up, I'm gonna crawl into this. Yo, see if you can run down here and revive B. Inside that little bunker type setup.
Search for vehicles.
This guy's probably gonna die if you want to revive him first. Or I'll revive him. Don't even stress it. Just watch the backside. Since you have the most health, watch this side.
Enemies ahead.
They're coming up on the left. Always faster to heal without a weapon equipped. Or I mean, without a weapon holstered. So, holster your weapons. Makes it quicker and easier. It's like that whole split half second skip. Nice. Shot him one time, and this teammate just totally lit him up after that. So funny. I figured the guy was about to duck back and hide. Mainly when half these pedophiles were roaming around, manipulating all my stuff, and in these matches, oh, we're like the coolest, but no. My apologies. That was heinously loud. Whoops. No way. Dude, they thirsted this guy.
Enemies ahead.
I think I got that one while you got the other one. Actually, I might push the UMP9 just to be more comfortable. Well, I guess at least we cleared boot camp. I was only dropping in here because I'd lost so many points. I was back down to like 10 off of completely being popped into like tier protection / the end of the tier, so I figure I might as well just run it. If I get knocked back, I get knocked back. And I think tier protection activates at this around this point value, so it's cool. Well worth the sacrifice. Oh, whoops. Oh, dang. I even almost skipped an adrenaline syringe. So stoked I didn't. That was a good match. Too bad I was kind of a dick to this guy. But I mean, it's not really me being a dick to him. I'm being a dick to like all their bloodlines and whatnot for breaking and entering into all my stuff with a bunch of pedophiles in this country, and now they're just like trying to fucking lie about who they were siding with. And it's just like the worst of the fucking worst 6-ad reality checks. Actually, you know what? I don't know why I was gonna do that. I was gonna pop an adrenaline syringe. Quick all night for AR over here.
I got supplies.
Push this first aid kit, but oh whoa. No way. It's so lame. Oh man, I hate that my hands sweat so bad. Now I'm just like sweating bullets, but I have to have my fan on. Oh, this guy picked up the 7.62 rounds. Okay, that's cool. I didn't really have to have them. It's not like I'm finding anything I want to use.
I got supplies.
Because I wanted to make, I wanted to use the QBZ right now.
Yo, does anyone have a good time scope for me?
Your mic's a little muffled. Sorry. Can't really understand you. Oh man, that's funny. Feel bad for whoever left this. 6-time scope. It's the guy that thirsted me, or killed me, or not thirsted me, but that killed me and tried thirsting me.
Let's go.
He tried thirsting me, but I totally just like dodged and deked. I dodged and like went like right behind the first pillar, and then I knew I could drop down, possibly have that box. I didn't even remember if those boxes are right there in the corner, but I knew there was something that blocks me from them. So I used that as like my prone location, and then bam, fucking jet set on him at like 2 miles a minute. Sorry, at like 2 miles per hour. Level 3 helmet, yes. So happy I kept checking. This is the second time they do this to me. Just for checking, I end up getting that dope, super dope fresh setup. Guess I'm gonna be running this for now. I'm gonna drop the red dot and everything else, and just pick up the ammo for my sawed-off shotgun. And I find my sawed-off shotgun. This silver plate skin is so epic for it. I'm still so stoked for it. Overly ecstatic to have gotten this, even though it's only silver. It's super dope. My hands are beyond sweaty. I'm freezing my ass off. I'm freezing to death right now. Sorry if I keep talking too much. You guys can. I'd almost advise you guys to mute me. It's not so much that you can. That option's like available, but I'd almost advise you guys to if it gets annoying. Opposed to raging out, because then I just rage out and flip out times 10. But you're probably used to. And they even glitched it out just because I was actually, because I'm better than pedophiles, and the pedophiles roamed around ruining stuff. There's a guy right here. Oh man.
Enemies ahead.
My character wouldn't go prone, so one of them's hacking the area, but it might not be him. Now there he is. He's poking out the left-hand side of that rock. Now the right. His teammate just pulled up. Thirsted bear? No way. Watch out. Oh, no way. There's another guy sniping somewhere in the area. Oh, no way. We just got third partied. That is so heinous. I hate getting third partied like this. It was actually fourth partied. We just got surrounded. That was so crazy. That was legitimately a fourth party. That was crazy. So I got my training master completed for the day, and I got 1,142 damage. And my apologies for any pedophiles dropping into any of my civil MLs. Regardless of what pedophiles run, and regardless of who they're attacking.